on the blue side yet again. We'll see those likely bans that we've seen time and time again of the Ziggs against the LNG team and the Lucian against the Weibo team. But I love the respect immediately paid towards Gala with the Ashe ban.
Big thing which I'm going to be questioning right now, LNG still on that red side. What happens with Corki now? Corki in the last series in LPL playoffs was absolutely demolishing everyone. But now we've seen the Corki get countered by the smolder to an extent. Does that change the draft?
Now, there were a few picks right here that you guys mentioned, and a few that we didn't mention. The Ivern was first banned from the side of Weibo Gaming, and I'm thinking that it could potentially be sleeping through the cracks right here. Misfortune and Yone, not all three of those can get banned out. We'll see the Ivern going through, and you talked about the Corki and the Smolder. I'm seeing a Yone that hasn't been banned so far.
There's only one ban left for LNG, but that's where I want to turn the attention to Weibo. What are the things we need to see from this team, to see a little bit of life from them? I mean, this would be 5 losses in a row.
First time this guy's played over in playoffs, it was Xiaohu that took the Yone away to face Scout. Let's see here if they want to choose the same fate.
So coming into this first pick, I think this is such an interesting draft because the Corki's been lapped up again. I don't think the Corki is as much of a power pick compared to the last time that these two teams met up. Maybe it is about this Renekton. We saw what Zika did the last time around. And the last time these two teams faced off, that Renekton was quite powerful between the two of them, as the Corki's now, they're going to be in the hands of Scout.
Love to see that, but also maybe a little bit more onus given to breathe on this pick and try to have as much of an impact as the Renekton did in the last game. This was also something that was banned out in the second phase. Maybe this is that more facilitation that WeiWei can bring to the table.
Tarzan has to bring out the Nidalee this time around. He really has to bring out the big guns right here. He tried it versus BLG. It kind of looked good at the very beginning, but right here you've got the setup together with the Renekton, and I'm assuming that Xiaohu could very easily go for the likes of the Yone in the mid lane versus the Corki. We have seen him do, especially for level 3, does pretty well. The Misfortune as well, unbanned.
And this is the thing, because you have the MF as well, what you can do is, yes, the Nidalee very, very good with the Renekton. I also think Lilia is really good with it too. Somehow just wasn't very present in that game 1, and it's a great pick with the Misfortune if you want to lock in that kind of tier list pick too. So for me, for Weibo, I would be locking in Misfortune, then the Lilia right now. Gives you some engage, gives you some incredible team fight combos as well. And also you then still have, much like the Nidalee, that farming jungler versus the utility of the Maokai, who can struggle to keep up in an individual gold level.
And just trying to find things that synergize very well with this to put Light in the best position he possibly can be, and looking at that as well, maybe taking some things away from LNG to some extent, the Villionas, things like that, to try to deny that bullet time. But maybe some consistent damage here and some insurance policies drafted by Weibo with the Smolder.
There are so many picks, I feel like, for Tarzan at this point, especially AP junglers, that he will be able to pick one of them as the time goes by. Smolder right here, they feel like he's one of the strongest picks. He got showed yesterday by Knight how easy it was for him to get solo kills even on this particular champion. And Xiaohu is a pretty good answer into the Corki, especially since you want to play in the early game around Misfortune for Weibo Game and allowing that Smolder to scale through that late game.
So coming into the second round of the drafts, we're mentioning AP junglers for Tarzan. There's a bunch of things which combo up well with multiple champions on their team. I also want to see what's going to happen with a bit of the support mind game, because LNG could look to last pick support, and they can then threaten to say, well, if Chris wants to lock in Rel, Leona on 4-5, what happens if we get Braumed on 5 at that point? The melee supports hate playing against the Braum. LG already have enough pick, they already have enough engage. That could be a big issue for them, so I wonder whether they hold themselves that kind of support counter pick until last.
So we already got that Rel ban by Weibo, maybe signaling down a Leona as well in there somewhere. But I like the utility that Gala has been willing to bring to the table this time around. It is going to be that Nidalee targeting on Tarzan's pool for LNG.
I wonder with so much setup on LNG, if Zika is going to choose to go towards something even maybe like the cannon. It was played in their previous series, and I feel like with the Jhin, you need some source of damage to come through elsewhere in your lane. Sure, you have the Corki, and your jungle has been locked in, so support's not going to bring the damage. Your top laner has to.
Ksante found a way. That would have been one of the other answers as well. You know, funny enough, in terms of talking about the damage, this time last year, Maokai was such a damage carry that Tarzan on the other side of this particular matchup did a 9,000 damage team fight with like a 4-man brush sapling. Wonderful stuff. That would be very, very different. It has been played in the SDK, so I'm not going to completely write that off, even though we've not really seen it in the LPL. But yeah, we're looking for something that can take control of the matchup. It's not going to be that cannon. It's going to be the Gnar instead. Gives you some team fight in some way, but gives you really good side lane pressure. future.
And also just coming off the momentum of some incredible flanks last game as well. I mean, you're going to be able to utilize that so well with the Gnar, but it's all about the timings and making sure you're in the right place at the right time. But Weibo, they need a couple things to shore up their composition, and they need go buds.
They need setup and they need engage. That's a Sejuani right here, would be icing on the cake, one of the best champions to go up against. That Maokai, you don't necessarily fall far behind. You're both set up junglers. You both are looking for those high engages, and I feel like Tarzan grouping up and linking up with Chris, both on engaged champions, can definitely dictate how that early game goes for them.
We highlighted the support draft mind game here. Last pick support for LNG. They're potentially threatening Brauming a melee support coming in, which means that maybe Weibo said, look, we can't pick the melee support, so we have to pick the Braum. That's why I think they go towards the Sejuani. They get the engage from the jungle, which means that Braum doesn't have to do it all by himself. He can struggle to do that, which means that LNG kind of lose the mind game a little bit if that was what they were aiming for.
And you also deny that kind of block of the bullet time damage in a lot of regards. I do still like this for Hung, though, because he has some ability to stop those combos coming through.
And Rakan does do quite well in lane versus Braum as well.
I was about to say, he's a pseudo melee champion because you cannot very easily catch him to pin him down. I have to say here, Weibo Gaming, I love what they have going on for them so far. Breathe on something that's a little bit stronger in that early game, can have impact. Tarzan on one of those champions that can very easily dictate that early game play towards that bot lane. I call Light my portable, their portable, not mine, their portable artillery machine. Once you get Light one kill, you pretty much get him all over the map, and this is how Weibo Gaming have been winning a lot of their games. Here, they've got the tools to get him ahead.
Yeah, so I really like what LNG have in terms of their comfort. They have very structured, slow engage, but it's very consistent of what it does. On the other side, Weibo, they have Renekton and Sejuani, they have Sejuani Braum, they can play across the entire map, and they have really good early playmaking tools. Weibo will very much want to get off on a better foot than they did in Game 1, where they actually just lost out on the opening blows to LNG.
This is a series we all know all so well. 5 best ofs in this last year. LNG getting the better of them overall, but it is a Weibo who are trying to redeem themselves after yesterday's performance, after this Game 1 performance. This is a Weibo who you can never count out. Every Weibo has its day, and that day needs to start right now in Game number 2. They have a very much more easily executable composition. They have a lot of late game scaling as well. They're going to try this edition of the Smolder, but the biggest importance is that Tarzan is on the Sejuani. He's on something that can be extremely proactive and give him the resources to get this team over the line. We're in Game number 2 now. Let's hear those Jayos.
The most interesting thing when there's a Braum in any team is looking for those early level ones or those late level ones where you really want to ruin someone's day, try to pressure WeiWei into his jungle. This time around, it's not going to be the case. Every single member is going to be guarding every entrance and exit of their jungle. So far, so good. But my eyes in this particular game for Weibo Gaming are going to be towards the bottom of the map. Misfortune was banned out in game number 1. Our Light has that in his hands.
Yeah, and just when you have the MF Braum as a duo as well, it means that you can protect the MF very well if you start jumping onto them. And yeah, Rakan's quite good in lane versus Braum, because you can start chunking him down with the Qs, get the sustain through that, shrug off some of the poke as well. But now we're kind of coming through into a really important game now between these 2v2s. I think this MF Braum, very tier listy picks, can do a lot of work.
And if you remember back, I mean, not only the stuff that we've seen in the games and a lot of the back and forth we've seen between these two teams over time, we're going to get a little bit of early level 1 there on bot side, but it really is, you know, looking back at the track record of this Weibo team, and this team with WeiWei, who is on LNG, we're literally in the World Finals just a year ago. So being able to try to hone that in and find what success that led to, but this new iteration of LNG is so important.
I mean, we were talking about there's been some changes between these two teams, you know, the junglers crossing over, but then, you know, last year it was LNG in the finals, and then they bombed out of Worlds. Yep. Weibo bombed out of playoffs, but then they got to World Finals. I'm just saying, there's a lot of
poison.
there are a lot of like weird, kind of completely not connected things between these.
I think not.
Look, I like to be a person of rationale sometimes.
There's nothing rational about what's happening in this early game. Everyone is going blow for blow so far in every single lane. I would love to stay down that bot lane. Crisp versus Light. It was specifically that I had asked for a clip of their previous playoff series. Crisp does this thing where he will go onto the furthest brush. As here, Tarzan, I'm going to hold my thought, because he's looking for that mid lane.
Yeah, both junglers were pathing up towards topside. Scout will end up seeing Tarzan here. There is a little bit of safety for LNG around the backside. Now we're getting a little bit of a 1v1 in the top here with the Gnar. Trying to get that Mega Gnar bar, but it is about the influence these two junglers are going to have early on.
We have seen Renekton's play around that Gnar early. Later into the game and mid-game, you really can see the Gnar take over in side lanes, but hasn't quite got to that point just yet. Tarzan now leveraging off of making Scout back off in mid lane, will now go into the jungle. The Corki is not really going to be able to respond to this play on topside, as Tarzan doesn't start up any camps until just now, knows that Breathe is crashing in the wave. He will have an isolated jungle 1v1 here. The lanes are not coming.
And this is where the skirmishing potential of the Sejuani comes to bear.
You see Breathe scratch the wave up top lane, which means that his lanes were not coming until that wave touched the tower, and then Breathe is like, wait, I have no jobs on the map, I might as well help my jungler.
Yeah, it's like, oh yes, LNG's lane's it. No, that's not an LNG laner. And then this is something, you know, when this combo first came around, we saw so much play around Renekton and Sejuani in the early game. It hasn't really been about that, though, for the last while of being played. Renekton and Sejuani is often not the focus of that early game, as the Sejuani goes elsewhere on the map. Does get some value there, though, and Tarzan tries to get something away from the enemy jungle.
Now, in this kind of situation, you're obviously seeing WeiWei take a little bit of a back foot here with that forward advance of Tarzan. Do we expect that to kind of be the trend at this point, especially after that game #1 for Weibo, where they have stayed very proactive, even if they were so far behind?
I feel like it's all about the tools as well that you have on those champions, right? Sejuani, a very easy to gank champion, even at level 3. You don't necessarily need the ultimate. The ultimate is just the icing on the cake, just another CC on that chain. However, right here, Crisp is the one that is lacking the CC for now, the frontline engage, which Tarzan will be providing for the team. So I feel like right now, Weibo Gaming, that's why I said over in the draft, they have the perfect tools for engage and disengage.
So this is really dangerous. If you walk too far into this jungle, Braum can really start to get some damage down with that passive. This is where it's going to be dangerous.
They know they're going to try to get it. The concussive blows have been started. He goes over the wall, Tarzan does, to try to get the engage here. Gala can't join. He doesn't have any mana either. He's going to have one spell usage as LNG do pull away from the play.
He's not needed. Who knew Maokai is that strong? 2 versus 3 it is. Gala gets time to crash that wave while WeiWei takes away the jungle camps off of Tarzan. This was a pretty successful invade from the side of LNG.
And so we have Tarzan invading in top side, WeiWei invading in bot side, which means that they're largely going to be in parity for what's happened across that. So let's have a quick snapshot of these lanes. They're actually fairly even across the board as it stands right now. We've had ourselves a chance to get a couple of resets in from a few of them, and the last remaining ones will likely be going back out onto the map with their teleports after the next wave or two. We also have those grubs coming up in a minute, so watch what happens after those resets, the teleports back. Breathe has level 6, level 5. He goes for this.
He wants it, and that's a little bitty Gnar. He's going to get that flash, but the slice and dice, he's going to get the trade. It's a 1v1 in top side, but a first blood going over.
He ends up burning the flash right at the end. Breathe ends up taking that 1 versus 1. However, the kills are traded. Both have TP, both can go back into lane and fix their waves if they want to. So all in all, it's an even trader than Breathe. Loses his flash too.
Look, if Breathe was going to die, yeah, you don't want to blow that flash, particularly because the grubs are now up after this. You would have loved that flash to potentially make a play around the top side. It would have been really, really nice. It's still nice, though, that he gets the XP advantage.
Oh, he didn't hit the initial.
And you can see that he just manages to get the really good E reset there too. Hits the first part of it, just misjudges the HP. Doesn't quite get out alive, but still gets the first blood.
Really good stuff, at least from both top players. Put their lives on the line early, go back for round 2 of the fisticuff matchup. But speaking of fisticuff matchup, LNG are going to take prio over these grubs. There hasn't been very big prio over the dragon on the other side, but these grubs have been so incredibly important for both teams.
I feel like if anything right there, LNG gets benefited by that. Zika hits level 6, that's half his ultimate, can walk down if he wants to, whilst Breathe had prior used that ultimate to try and get onto that dive. So it was a pretty much solo advantage. That's right here, Xiaohu's baiting everyone in.
See who's a little bit tougher, who can stand in the tussle here. Xiaohu trying to get as many stacks as possible, but Weibo are a bit split in this fight. Scout going to rejoin on the other side, and Crisp, he has no unbreakable shield there. He will end up flashing away to safety.
Man, the fact that Weibo aren't getting significant advantages with Sejuani, Braum early game, with all of these early plays, is a bit worrying now at this point. Crisp, we praised him in that first game. We praised him in game 3, of course, the games yesterday too. Said, look, if Crisp has himself a really good game, he really does bring Weibo to life. He's not actually getting that much of a strong entry entry into this game himself.
And I was also expecting Weibo Gaming to play towards that misfortune, but once the Jhin gets locked in, it's very much of a tough matchup, right? Jhin can also push down the lane super quickly, and then you don't get that super shoved under the tower lane where you can threaten dives.
I personally love the Jhin into the misfortune
You personally
matchup.
love the Jhin full stop.
Well, hey, all right, don't hold that against me here. But it does provide a little bit, but you have that utility that I think has been so crucially strong for Gala. I mean, we saw last game, he literally got MVP for those enchanted crystal arrows he was hitting on as a marksman across the map. So being able to give this guy some resources in terms of maybe not the gold, but the utility on the team is really nice.
So one of the things we said coming out of the draft for LNG was that this is a draft which fits their comfort style quite well. Game 1 was actually very, very active for an LNG game. They don't always give us that. They are a check.
Chill out now.
They're what I like to call methodical, right? I know a lot of people call them slow. I think the slowness is a symptom of the method, because the method is going down the checklist and they don't tend to skip many steps there. LNG have a lot of ability with this kind of comp to slow roll the map. They can play around Maokai, very consistent but slow engage. Play around Gnar, slowly pushing out those side lanes but getting ever encroaching value. Now if we take all of that and wrap it up in a bow, the grubs on top of that are going to make LNG very, very exciting to watch now around these side lanes, because I think Zika could potentially start taking off of that despite losing that earlier trade in level 6 to level 5.
Talking about losing trades though, Scout versus Xiaohu was a highlighted matchup in their previous playoff series, and there were a lot of iterations where Scout had the better trades in that mid lane, which have caused Xiaohu to back and lose a lot of CS, which is the case right here as well, as Tarzan is looking for some of that action we're talking about for Weibo Gaming on the map. That is a mini Gnar and a wave that's crashing towards the top side of the map.
Yeah, I mean, Tarzan on Sejuani can take his pick of the litter of where he wants to try to influence. That Glacial Prison is going to be absolutely huge. We are going to see some more invading by Tarzan on the top side. WeiWei will eventually find him out, and Tarzan realizes there might be something going on. Looking at mid.
Well, Scout might be under danger.
He wants to go over the wall. Go with the sneaky play, waits, and now the flash comes out. Really nicely played by Scout.
I love how Tarzan assesses his option when he has that vision control advantage. Tarzan not going to be here on this bot side eventing erupts down here, but Tarzan, one of the greatest Sejuani players of all time, from his time in the LCK, his time in here in the LPL as well. He has had so many results on that champion, and pulling the trigger like that to get a flash away from Xiaohu's smolder lane is nice, because of course last game had the smolders towards that scout. You were mentioning the mid lane matchup just a little earlier too. Smolder's in a happy place right now.
Very quick assessment right there from Tarzan. However, a bit of a miscoordinated play. He was invading red buff, thinking he's Renekton, had crashed the wave, but Breathe was looking for a reset. He was looking to buy items, therefore he had to dip out of the red buff, waste some time right there, then looks for Scout, does manage to take his flash, which is the positive play out of this one. However, Weibo Gaming, these are a few of the moments where I kind of question the shot calling behind the whole machine that Weibo Gaming is, because also there were a few of these hiccups yesterday versus BLG.
There were. Something else I think is really interesting is to see the uptick in just confidence in the bot lane now that we've hit those level 6s. I mean, to be able to play around that I think is super important, and Weibo trying to adapt their style to that is crucial. But we're actually looking at WeiWei maybe trying to make a play on the breathe up here, but just trying to keep presence around this grub side of the map to try to get grub again.
Now the problem is here for LNG, they're going to lose Mega Gnar pretty quickly. Breathe, you've walked up to the Mega Gnar though.
Got Dominus, maybe he just takes a 1v2. Zika about to lose his Mega Gnar, and Breathe has rebuffed LNG on this top side play, but we're going to get a recentering around these grubs as Crisp has shown up and so has Hung.
Giving LNG, one of the teams that loves split pushing, playing around the map, playing around taking towers. 6 Void Grubs cannot be a good thing. Weibo Gaming, they have pretty much switched everyone towards the top side of the map. As you can see, Xiaohu over to the bot side. He will have that teleport if he's needed to TP into the fray. Now pushing waves back and forth onto the bot side. Breathe still stays top, no ult for him though.
Oh, we're going to get the TP play in from bot side. That will end up being Scout joining the fight. Weibo have a flank of a Corki behind them, and Crisp is going to have to burn the flash, but the flash instantly returned. LNG, they are coming here, and they are taking everything. Zika about to go Mega Gnar. He's getting a little bit low, though. A little bit of damage back and forth. Zika's still alive. There's the curtain call. Maybe it makes the difference. Scout stick it in there, but he'll die to Light, who has finally shown up. LNG, they'll get one right back onto Tarzan.
A rock to the face means that now the grubs are still back on the table. No smite. This is still continuing the fight.
Okay, it's turning into a 3v4, but this is in favor of LNG. They got a lot of frontal damage here, and Xiaohu's going down. Look at Gala. He got his MVP in game 1. He wants to follow it up. Light's trying to get him right back, though, and those love taps hurt real bad, as now LNG getting away from Crisp in the re-engage of Weibo.
What a weird back and forth fight. There was a bit of of a late teleport from Xiaohu, but there was an early one from Scout. That was the first real difference. Weibo somehow fight their way through that. And now at the end of this, LNG walk away probably with a better fight, but they also don't leave with the grubs. So the actual objective they're fighting over is still available.
Hold your breath, guys. The grubs are still there. We'll have a round 2 eventually when the ultimates are all back up.
How many rounds does this go?
Hey, well,
Okay,
let's see.
It'll go on for like another 2 minutes, and then Herald spawns, and then we guess we call it quits.
So right here, you see the instant TP coming in from LNG. Scout joins the fray. However, the reason for that is that he had pushed 2 waves down to Xiaohu. Xiaohu waves to clear that, to then dive in. But then it's already too late. Crispy's already down. Lights coming through that mid lane. And I'm getting deja vu of game number 1, where I couldn't see 5 players of Weibo Gaming on the same screen on these team fights. And it makes you wonder, what if this is all coordinated? You see how Weibo Gaming managed to turn this around and push them out. If you see all 5 on the same screen, they could get an ace.
Completely agree. There's just a bit of discoordination here, and you can see that this could be a 1 fight for Weibo pretty cleanly. They give up a bit of a freebie kill towards that bottom boulder at the end. They don't quite get the kill there, and it's just these gaps in where they should have been extra kills or something like that, but suddenly there aren't. It means that LNG can keep fighting back.
We just almost had a kill in Dragon Pit. Now we're about to get a solo bolo up here. No, he's going to turn it right back. That is an angry Croc, but he got distance. The slice and dice is not enough. Zika shuts him down.
Full stacked Conqueror right there from Breathe. Tried to get the empowered Q as well to get that heal. Wasn't enough. Wasn't up in time. However, Tarzan's looking ball.
This is the LPL I know and love. Here comes Hung to try to re-engage, but WeiWei is already gone. Now Weibo trying to take advantage of this fight that's a little bit unmanned from LNG, and Scout getting hit by the concussive blows. Maybe he makes that. Xiaohu overextended. Xiaohu overextended. Light tries to get the bullet time across. They do end up claiming Hung. Weibo striking well.
So LNG still have Gnar left alone on the top side. They'll be able to get some value out of that. The plates have just fallen. This is what Weibo can do with this kind of comp. They do have those go buttons. They haven't really been using them that coordinated across most of this game so far, but that is a better look in. They force LNG away from that bot's turret. They managed to take some gold there, and that'll be something for them.
However, a huge difference between game 1 and game 2. Light 2 and 0 onto that Misfortune. You can move him around the map and use that advantage. We're having a look again onto the top lane fight that's been going on right there. Zika onto that Mega Gnar. This is usually when with the Renekton, you do not want to be taking trades into the Gnar when he's in that Mega Gnar form. However, Breathe learned this the hard way.
Mega Gnar is the bursty part of Mini Gnar and Mega Gnar. Mini Gnar is very good DPS because he's effectively a mini ADC at that point. You can see right here, as soon as Mini Gnar's there, yes, Renekton can burst out the squish your target, but it's not like the Mini Gnar loses damage like that, and he managed to turn that around. You can see how it means for LNG. LNG coming out the worst were in the last time in this matchup. Really strong start from the first 2 games.
And right here, instantly, Weibo Gaming, they lose one on the top side of the map, but they are proactive towards the bot side. I want your eyes peeled in the jungle because Light instantly pivots from mid lane to that bot to try and assist his team. Again, he is the guy with the kills in his back. He's the guy with the items. Got another one for himself right here. BT completed, pickaxe in the pocket as well.
What do you do now to deal with Zika, though? I mean, he is a Gnar that is going to have such impact in these team fights, and it just does not feel like Breathe is going to have an advantage in the side lane right now.
That's a problem, because the Gnar eventually does overtake Renekton in a side lane, but that's happened early now. Weibo will need to find a way to make this game now not about that side lane. Force Zika to join, maybe off of a bad Mega Gnar timing as well. If you can force him to join a fight in the way that Weibo can force fights very easily, maybe that's the way you can get some value out of that. While that happens, though, you can't force fights you're not going to win, so it's a very difficult equation to balance for Weibo.
Now, here's where I look at the Renekton build right here, because usually when you play against a range champion, you go strike, break it, try and stick onto these targets, right? No Black Cleaver, no extra armor pen for your double 80 carry. So usually I would say, hey, even if your Renekton falls behind, maybe versus a tank or maybe versus another person, versus another champion, you got Black Cleaver, you got stairs, you can stay alive, you can use that armor pen. It's not going to be the case here, and LNG, empty tower bot.
All right, they got the Nature's Grasp across just to try to get that outer tower there. That'll be some standing gold going the way of LNG.
This is one of the best things that LNG do. They are very good at just very methodically taking towers. They hate architecture. They don't like those structures anywhere. They are against buildings in any way, shape, or form. They live in the fields. They live in the fields and in the caves and in the rivers. They're not about this building stuff. As Weibo may look to start a fight themselves, they don't really have much follow-up available. And because they can't start those fights, Zika gets to do this on the sidelines. It's exactly what we were mentioning before. You have to find a way to stop Zika just dunking on towers with the Mini Gnar, with the 3 grubs. It is a bit of a problem.
It truly is, and I'm just looking at the timing of things for Weibo as well, trying to get these item spikes that are going to be available for these big fights, because LNG have done a really good job of not only carving out some of these later game insurance policies in the Dragon stacking here, but that pressure that they've been able to kind of push back onto Weibo has denied some of that early control that typically Tarzan loves to have.
Absolutely, and now I'll give you the positives and the negatives of this Gnar. If this Gnar is stuck on a side lane into the Renekton, I feel like Weibo Gaming are more than happy to take the 4v4s in skirmishes and fights around objectives. So if Breathe can manage to either stop the TP or keep Zika busy on his side lane, I think this is going to be a very key factor for Weibo Gaming walking into these fights to come.
Yeah, so when it comes to that 4v4, let's have a look at relative to power, because we have that 30-second timer until Dragon as well. So we have bigger ults available on both sides. WeiWei doesn't have his, that's a big cooldown not to be there right now, but that should be up fairly shortly if LNG can start delaying that Dragon. Leandri's in from WeiWei, you have the Zeke's in from Tarzan, good early items built in even from the junglers as well. Don't have those Muramanas completed for those mid laners yet, they're not quite at critical mass.
And a big thing here I need to keep an eye on, a little bit of side eye, is Xiaohu consistently getting these stacks going for himself, taking these skirmishes but playing safely, and you wonder if he's going to have an influence if he can get to that big item spike as well with the stacks there. Gala is going to make it out with his flash though, try to turn a little bit back to it, but mid lane prio is super important ahead of this Dragon.
Also very wise from Zika right there, doesn't want to take the 50-50, shoves in that wave, and he's already on his way towards that bot lane. They know how important that third Dragon is for the team, also uses that brief trail for some pressure.
Yeah, so they're using this Herald as a counterweight, using it to threaten this mid turret, keeping Weibo away from the Dragon.
The good old distraction Carnifex coming into effect here as LNG going to move right over to that Dragon Pit and try to get a soul point for themselves as Gala starts it up.
There is a ward behind highlighted right now for Weibo Gaming. Potentially Breathe could find an angle to TP.
I mean, he's going to try to put on his best Zika cosplay from last game. Here it comes. We're going to get the double TPs in both teams willing to commit over this. Breathe is way too far over Baron though, and he's just being turned into a pelt here. He's going to flash away by the curtain call. He's going to get one back to the back, and Scout gets the kill. Now Weibo have to retreat from this fight.
This is kind of worst case scenario for Weibo. They lost their health on mid lane. They lose that big TP play too, and I don't think they can really stick around for this.
Okay, they got that Deadly Flourish, maybe trying to get Chris. The Unbreakable will not be available now. You do not have many safety tools for Weibo, but they got to do the safety dance here. The Dragon's getting low. They are still willing to 50-50 this. Tarzan's trying to get the pin. Here comes Mom from Xiaohu, but they're not willing to commit too far over. There's the bullet time, but it is secured by WeiWei, so that'll be soul point for LNG. And a nice grand entrance, rebuffed as well. WeiWei going forward. He's looking for a Bramble Smash. It does go the other way, but already Tarzan's down, and Zika, he has made his name known. He is not mini anymore. That man is mega, as it's LNG taking a huge fight in mid lane.
LNG do not want this series to go the distance. It feels like every time it is going the distance between these two. But Weibo, coming off the back of a 0-3 finals, have started very, very shakily in these first two games.
Again, I have not seen 5 Weibo Gaming members on the same screen. They have a wombo combo. The Misfortune into the Sejuani ult, into the Braum ult, and the defense. The Renekton from the backline, and we don't see this here. You see that Breathe TPs all the way behind them. Great flank TP, but needs some vision. So LNG literally turns around. Again, a flank with one person. If you get outnumbered, sorry, he's not a flank anymore.
And I don't like to emotionally ascribe things to teams, but I think Weibo look very desperate. I think that LNG look very reserved. They look very composed. They look like they are understanding the game and they're not snatching and grabbing. I think Weibo in both of these first games feel like they're just overreaching time and time again.
And I think another little bit storyline going through all this is you look, I know it's been a while, you look back to 2023, Zika was a major reason why they were able to make a run there. And I think the fact that he's showing up in a game like this in the regional qualifiers is awesome against Breathe, who was really trying to find some respect with his last couple series. As we take a look at that, we actually have a little bit of tussling going on in front of that Baron pit, but nothing else going to come of it.
So, grand kind of payoff for that play. LNG, soul point, big advantage in terms of gold. They're breaking up these towers again. This is a huge problem for Weibo because you had the early skirmish potential with Sejuani Braum, Renekton Sejuani as well. You do have those double AD carries that can pick up some good value in team fights. It's very hard to pick up that value in team fights if your front line is so far behind. And I think now looking at, multiple red numbers there, pointing towards gold advantages for LNG, it's very hard to have that platform for the double wombo combo AD carries to get much value.
I'm primarily looking at the solo laners. Breathe, that's your B1.
Yep.
It needs to be the most valuable pick for your team. He's not been able to make it work. And again, the stride breaker build right here doesn't allow to get to your black cleaver as fast as you need with a double AD carry composition. And Xiaohu, we saw it over over in their previous series, that the 5-game banger that they played on the lower bracket, Scout permanently pushed him under lane, permanently made him lose a lot of those waves. And we saw it earlier on, where his backs and his resets were so untimed from the side of Xiaohu.
Now, I will say a little bit of a saving grace. We are getting to some item spikes here, primarily for LNG, but so for Weibo, as we're going to have a couple items now waiting on those 3 item spikes. But does that change the power scaling at all?
A little. I'm not going to say it's. I'm not going to give too much. Look, I can be a bit of a hopium or copium salesman at points, but in this game it's going to be quite hard. Now, I think what Weibo are looking to do is maybe just try and take a big snatch and grab play around the Baron. See if they can get themselves a misfortune ult with the infedge across that Baron pit. That could be the go signal they want to use. That's why LNG aren't really going towards that Baron pit. The way I like to refer to Misfortune is kind of like, much like in like Valorant or like these hack shooters, she's more like a retake the site champion where everyone else is on the site. She then tries to retake it with this big ult over the pit.
And if you look at the map, it's black. How does Misfortune retake a fight when there is no vision from the side of Weibo? Now, there is one thing that T1 over the years have been doing so well. It's when they are the stronger team, they're going to walk towards that Baron and threaten that Baron. And by the time Weibo Gaming will peek their heads in to try and get some remnants of vision, they'll switch over to the Dragon, take that away, and then they would also have that vision over at Dragon. So they'll take control of both sides of the river at once, purely because they have too much money in their wallets.
What a problem to have.
I guess, yeah. They need to get bigger pockets. I need to go to my tailor and get some pockets soon and see how much gold we can put in them. It is something, though, to say that this is a rough situation to be in for Weibo. There is no momentum going their way, even if it's a team full of veterancy, all this reunion stuff, the RNG combos of Xiaohu and Breathe. It truly is about honing into the moment, right? You can't have lapses in judgment like this for Weibo, and now especially with more objectives coming up, with a soul on the line of a mountain soul to boot. Very difficult, and a mountain that Weibo are going to have to climb.
You can see that Teleport's coming in for the setup. Zika's trying to manage his Mega Gnar bar. What do Weibo do to give themselves even a hope of trying to fight around this? Again, that Misfortune ultimate with the infedge is really what you're hoping for. Light needs to get himself in the right position. His team needs to set up for him to have huge value.
And now you have Zika on the sideline as well, and he is a threat. He's going to start pushing down your tower, so Weibo Gaming is very desperate right here, trying to get any vision that they can around this Dragon. My God, Crispy's like 30% HP already.
So big combo right now, though. Zika will be losing his Mega Gnar in the side lane, does have TP to join, but that fight potential will not be there. Now Tarzan's going to kick it off, and Crisp is already gone, but maybe it doesn't even matter. Bullet time going kind of completely wide there, and the curtain call opens up, and what has happened to Weibo? Where did they go over these last 2 days? Because this Weibo right now is trying to find something out of nothing, and they are losing everything, including their lives.
LNG are sealing the deal. They don't need no damn Mega Gnars because they're just stronger. When you're 4v5, when you've already killed someone by the time the fight has already started, they're just clearly the stronger team on all fronts.
For those of you who've watched Weibo in the last 2 days, I feel like you haven't had the full Weibo experience. Weibo in the last few days have really struggled to get fights on their own terms, but need we remind you, across the entirety of last year and this year, we had a little motto for Weibo: consistently inconsistent. They blew open top esports and blew them out of playoffs. They made their way to finals and they deserved it. They get to finals, they get to this regional qualifiers as well, and they're really struggling to get any sort of fight, whether they're behind or even in the game. This causes a worst case scenario, really. You're so far behind, and Light doesn't get a great ult either. But this has been a really shaky start from Weibo.
Absolutely, and you know the meme that says you did this for what? It's kind of like, you eliminated top esports, you didn't allow them to get the finals, you did this for what? Weibo Gaming clearly needs a wake-up call. I'm watching Light this entire game and I'm like, no one has played for this guy. This is the guy that's pulling all the weight when everything else falls apart for Weibo Gaming. Play more for him.
And now look on the other side too, Baron still on the table. LNG so strong in the carries. Here comes the last gas teleport.
They got a TP. There's an Aegis Grasp across. Hits multi-members. Breathe gets the flank though, and this is actually really big. Crisp is already gone, but Scout is still here kicking. Here comes Zika. He's about to get Mega Gnar as well. Breathe has to separate it. Scout is not with this fight, but LNG still feel confident because Breathe is completely left out on his lonesome. Oh, the flash play, WeiWei, making it known that Xiaohu cannot exist in this realm of reality, and neither can Weibo.
The game's just too far gone at this point. The teleport comes in and they get one carry. Yeah, there are multiple carries now, folks. There are too many.
Who cares about the
It's almost
Jhin,
like
man?
League of Legends.
It's like, oh, hey.
Okay, sorry.
Look, I was definitely a guy that's like, oh, Jhin kind of struggles to carry games. He did get a pentakill in finals yesterday, so I guess we
Put
have
some
to
respect on his name.
Maybe retire at that point. Baron's going to go down. LNG, they don't really mind that Gala's gone down. They have so much damage left over.
Okay, I'm gonna continue my sentence. Who cares about Jhin when you have Corki and Gnar? There you go.
All right, I could see that point. All right. We get LNG, though. After this fight, they actually looking to take a little bit more here. And Weibo, that desperation, it reeks of high heaven here. And they just wanted to try to get in the pit, wanted to try to get something, and they are left with nothing. Baron going over the way of LNG. They have a massive gold lead. They did get Xiaohu his stacks, and he's able to get one back, but it's just a little baby dragon. They get a double kill for Zika. Now they're chasing Breathe under turret. How are you going to make this man be put even further into the dirt? But they find a way.
LNG are just chasing Weibo Gaming down. They have the numbers advantage on the map. LNG again on every front, the better team here. Early, mid, late, team fight, side laning. They have established their dominance.
And I really think I look at this LNG team in the first 2 games, and the word which sticks out to me is confidence. They are playing with confidence, and they're playing decisively.
This is a game 2 that we did not expect to go a 2-0 start in this best of 5 for LNG. It has always been contested. It has always been back and forth. But for 5 games in a row, Weibo has been shooting blanks, and LNG are on match point.
LNG, this is the team we wanted to see in playoffs. We wanted to see this team take series, take games against the likes of BLG or Top East. We'll see what they can bring us out. They're a 2nd seed going into that point. They couldn't do that then. They still have themselves this World's Qualifying Series here as well in terms of the regional qualifiers from LPL. And I think if they're playing like this, so we send them to internationals, I'd love to see how far this team could go there. They only have one more Nexus to take from that. This is still a matchup against Weibo. They like to give us the most dramatic conclusions possible, but it is already looking like it is a hard uphill climb.
And I don't like to read a lot into emotions from players, but this looks like a
They look defeated.
defeat.
Look at that. That is
Light,
unfortunate.
oh my god, the way Light is walking backstage, he seems gutted, right? And he had an incredible performance on the Misfortune. If I was gonna sit on that chair, I'd be like, why did no one play for me? We said how Light is the guy who'll carry the team forward, the portable artillery, and he did have the resources. It's just that LNG is pulling Weibo Gaming around the map so well that they can never focus on getting Light ahead.
Weibo have played 6 series in the last 2 weeks. They played 20 games. It has been a heck of a slog for them. I'm just wondering whether they're running out of steam a little bit. This time last year, LNG found themselves in a similar situation themselves. They played 27 games in 2 weeks as well. They did make it through that regional qualifier back then. We'll have to see whether Weibo can match that.
The biggest thing is just wanting to see some life, wanting to see something give for Weibo. It has been a tough journey here, but this is also a situation where it's not everything on the line. This is double elimination. Give us everything you got and try to get this to a series. We're going to